On this episode, we're going to be talking about Wholesaling 101.
101.
If you can't wholesale after this, we've got nothing for you. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about wholesaling, why it should be the foundation of your business, and why you should be doing it without ever using a formula, or even you don't even need to know a number. Welcome to the Kingdom Podcast. My name's Todd Fleming. I'll be your host alongside Jordan Payne. Our mission is to end financial suffering. So whether you've been following us for a while or this is your first time visiting us, you've made a great decision. All right, let's start with you. Let's start with, why did you start with wholesaling? A lot of people listening or watching right now are thinking like, oh, I don't have the capital, or I've never been in real estate. I know I want to be in real estate. Mm-hmm. Why did you start with wholesaling? I'm assuming we're going to have a similar story, but.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in research mode and trying to figure out a better option for myself and my now wife, it was the first thing that kind of popped up. So I was researching after reading the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like how do I get started in real estate? I knew that eventually I wanted long-term generational wealth and I wanted something like passive on repeat, but I literally had no idea how to do it. So I'm 24, 25 at the time. I'd never used a bank. I didn't even have a credit card. So in my mind, the only way to get started was to try to figure out how to do transactions without having massive amounts of money or great credit. So that was right or wrong. That is why I went the wholesale route, and just happened that I had a guy that was willing to kind of show me how to do it. And
so you found a local guy.
Local guy.
So you actually had a local guy. Okay.
Yep, local guy. And it just, to me, it seemed like an easy way to get started. Easy.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. And then I learned.
Then I figured out it wasn't.
I think, well, what you actually probably learned is that the difference between simple and easy.
Yeah.
Because wholesaling is very simple.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it is literally the art, and I do call it an art for a reason. Well, maybe we'll go into that, but it's the art of solving problems for sellers and buyers at the same time.
Yeah.
So how can you locate a seller that has a problem, and the problem is large enough that the numbers go away? And how do you locate buyers that have a problem? By the way, like, every buyer on the planet has a problem. They can't find enough. Like, if they have the capability of buying more, like, their problem is locating properties at a discount, value at a discount. Yeah. So, okay. So you found somebody locally. You decided that getting into real estate was going to be the best path for you and Julia. And you decided that since you didn't have any money at the time, that wholesaling was probably going to be the way, because you'd heard that it didn't take any capital to actually close your first deal.
Yeah, come to find out, that wasn't necessarily true. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think, I'm dead broke and I have no capital, no credit, so I'm just gonna magically wholesale and then just become successful. Parts of that are true. Like, wholesaling, I think, is the least capital intensive way to start in real estate. I don't think that means that anybody can just do it for free. I mean, that wasn't my experience. That wasn't your experience.
Right.
But it was a cost-effective way for me to get started, especially after we started doing deals. So first deal that I ever did, gal was 2 or 3 weeks away from losing her property. She wasn't paying her taxes and her bills. Imagine that. Right. And like you said, problem was big enough where the money didn't matter.
Yeah.
In her mind, I'm going to lose this property anyways in 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, hey, we can give you at least a little bit of money.
Yeah. You solved a huge problem there.
Huge problem. I mean, she had multiple properties.
Yeah.
But first deal, $9,000, the smart investor starts to compound that back into the business. My second, third, fourth, fifth deal came a lot quicker. So that first deal, even though I didn't have a massive amount of capital, it did take some money, but reinvesting back into the business was really how I compounded.
Yeah, and when you say some money, you're not talking about like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It's like, hey, I put a few $100 here and here. And also, I think on the capital side, a lot of people just intertwine capital with it's only money. You're talking about time, you're talking about effort, you're talking about learning, you're talking about human capital, you're talking about all of it. That's why when you say, dead broke and everything, like, you at least have to have the mindset for wanting to change something or being open to changing something. So that's really where I started at as well. Same, similar age, 24, 25, as we've discussed before, but I got into real estate and I got my real estate license. I thought that was the best way to learn. Everybody knows my opinion on the real estate licensing process and testing, and like they just teach you how to pass a poorly written test. They don't actually teach you any real estate, which is unfortunate. But with that being said, I knew that I wanted to be on the investing side. So similar to you, I started doing research. Basically, how do I get into real estate without a lot of money? Either no money or without a lot of money. So when I closed my first transaction, I had $11 in my checking account. I'll never forget that. I went to the title company to close the deal. The title company was located above a coffee shop. I went into the coffee shop. It was a Starbucks, but I went into the Starbucks to get a drink, and I checked my bank app before the closing, and I had $11 in my checking account. I was like, maybe I should wait till after the closing too.
A lot of people hear that story. You know, they've read your book, they've interacted, they've seen some different stuff online, and they think, if I have $11, I can create a really profitable business and do deals like clockwork. But that really wasn't your entire experience. Like, you had $11 when you closed your first deal. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But you had marketing, like you set up a company. I think you hired either a mentor or had some training as well, right?
So I spent my last few dollars on the licensing process. After that, I was like seriously dwindling. So at that point, all of my marketing were free methods. So it was Craigslist. I think I had actually started writing yellow letters at that point. So there's about that. So I was spending a few dollars on that, but my deal came from a Craigslist ad. I call it an ad. It's just a post stating like, hey, I buy houses, and I wasn't even doing it correctly yet. And we'll get into like the actual steps of why this should be the foundation for your business, because what it's going to do is it's going to create all the opportunity that you could ever capitalize on if you so wish, if you do it correctly, without ever having to worry about numbers or anything like that. So formulas or
what's the formula, man?
And I was trying to think of what's the popular formula. It's
BS. It's BS times BS minus BS equals BS.
Algebra, math with letters.
Yeah. ARV times 0.70 minus repair and wholesale fee.
There you go. That's what it is. ARV, which is after repair value, times 0.70, which is 70% of that value. So if your property is going to be worth 100, now we're down to 70. Minus repair. So let's say it costs 10,
which you have to guess on.
Which is like why let's just get into it now. I'm actually excited about this now. So like, yeah, if you have a repair value of a guesstimate of 10 grand, very good point. So now we're down to 60. So now you can offer 60. Well, oh, wait a second. You gotta have your fee in there. So let's say your fee is 10 grand. So you can offer 50 grand, right? That's the formula.
Yeah.
And then you put it under contract. What a lot of people do is they'll commonly put that under contract. They'll offer to the seller, hey, I'll give you 50 grand for this. They're like, oh, okay, great, wonderful. And they start their moving out process if they're living there or cleaning it out or whatever it may be. Then you're like, all right, I got to go find a buyer. And all your buyers are, I need to be at 38.
Yeah.
I need to be at 45. I need to be at 47. I need to be at 51, maybe make $1,000. But like,
yeah.
Well, so okay, before we get too far,
Oh, I'm ready.
I know, before we go on that tangent, let's make sure there's a nice structure and a path for people here. So we both started with nothing but really in your case, a few dollars, my case, sheer determination. I'm going to do this or die, because I was at that point, I was so unhappy in everything else that I was doing. I wanted to be in real estate and I wanted to be successful that bad. So we both started in similar sets there. We both decided that we thought wholesaling was the least risk, and we thought it had the lowest barrier to entry, which I still agree with to this day. I think those are, I think that's both are fair to agree upon that. And then we both had some leadership. You had a local mentor. I ended up having a local mentor as well. He's actually the owner of the title company that I was using at the time. He really took me under his wing, and he helped me a ton. Because he helped me avoid all the unethical dark spaces of it. I think he called it actually dark spots. Which I didn't understand at the time, but boy, do I do now.
I'm just thinking like the Lion King movie where he's like, what's that dark spot over there? That's the dark side of wholesaling. You must never go there.
Yeah, that's the unethical side. You must never go there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the formula driven side. Don't ever go there. Yeah, so it's the side where you do nothing but guess and hope. So, okay, so we're coming from the same place there. We both agree that this can be the foundation of your business because what it does over time is it creates all the possible leads and you have great habits of relationship building and marketing and offer making.
Yeah.
So it really sets you up for a lot of success in real estate, no matter what you want to do, whether you want to do buy and hold, whether you want to do fix and flip. Fix and flip's a big one at that point because you understand how to buy it right. That's a big piece. You have experience there then. So whether you want to do multifamily, single family, residential, commercial, I mean, you name it. Wholesaling can be the foundation for that. And then any lead that you grab or any opportunity that you grab that doesn't fit you, you're able to kick it out and profit from it still. That's absolutely the way to go.
To your point, for me, it taught me grit. It taught me how to get out of my comfort zone because I had never, at least up to this point, I had never interacted with people that were in really emotional situations, constantly. So it taught me how to interact with people, how to solve problems, which is now the foundation for everything that I've done in my business.
Literally everything.
Everything.
In all the business. You literally learned, probably. I mean, I learned, that's about when I learned at that point, was businesses built on crisis and problem solve. If there's no problem, there's no business.
Yep.
So
communication was huge. Obviously, some of the paperwork stuff, which was never my strong suit, but I at least understood it.
Yeah.
And then how to find value at a discount, which is a huge part of what we teach, right? So I think anybody that is not currently involved, I think wholesaling will teach you the foundation of skill set that will allow you to eventually, if you choose to, not everybody has to, move into fix and flip, buy and hold, short-term rentals, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I think the other thing that holds a lot of people up, it never really held me up. I think it goes back to I was going to do it or I was going to die. I was literally at that point.
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, that makes two of us. There's a lot of misconceptions within wholesaling, and we'll work through this and then we'll get into the specifics on why we don't believe in formulas and everything. One of those misconceptions is that you need to be great at math, or you need a formula, or you need a specific offer sheet or a maximum allowable offer, all these things. Oh, and then there's the other side, the legality side. Oh, you got to have a license to do that.
It's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal. It's not illegal. It's still legal in all 50 states. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you need this or that in this state or this territory. That might be true. There might be small requirements depending on your market. But the thing is, it's actually a good thing because it keeps all the unethical people out. It actually paves a lane for you to operate in the way that we're going to talk about here in just a minute, that you'll never have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You'll never have an issue with that because you're going to be solving people's problems. And you're going to be doing it in an ethical way, and you're going to be legal and above grade the entire time. There's no gray area to this, no shadiness to this. It's all disclosed. It's all in paperwork. It's really very simple, which you learned. Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy in the very beginning, though. So did you have to deal with any of those misconceptions? Did you have to overcome any of them, or were you so new and green that you were ignorant to it?
I was ignorant to it.
Yeah.
And I was leaning into the conviction and the confidence of the guy that I was working with at the time.
Yeah.
You see somebody doing deals, pretty consistently. You're not thinking.
You saw it was real.
Yeah. Now for me, it took me several months. This was not I woke up and was just successful. I specifically remember, and I've shared this story a bunch of times, pretending on my cell phone, faking, talking to a seller in front of the guy that I was working with, who was kind of my mentor. But I was literally pretending to talk to people because I was so terrified.
That's so good. So many people are going to be able to relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
I used to do, not to that level, but that was the job, my last job. It was, I would do anything possible to not work versus just be successful at the job just because I was unfulfilled or terrified because I hadn't done it before.
100%. And I think the fear was, what if they ask me a question that I don't know? What if they know that I've never done a deal? What if they know that I'm 24 years old? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right. And then as soon as you do it, you find out that they don't care. They're literally just in pain. And they don't care if you're 14 or 40. If you can solve that problem for them, numbers go out the door, experience, Nobody ever asked me, have you ever done a deal before? No one ever has asked me for proof of funds. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just solving a problem.
I've never even put down earnest money before. If you don't know what earnest money is the goodwill capital that you put down on a contract that says I'll perform, and if I don't, you still get this. I've never even had to put down.
It's another misconception.
That is another misconception, is that you have to have earnest money or you have to be able to fund the transaction yourself up front. All these things are untrue. Even if you're doing, I don't want to get too far ahead again, like double close, you don't need funds up front.
Right.
That can be handled elsewhere. There's a fee involved with it, but it can be handled. Yeah, all these misconceptions end up holding people back. I need a business entity. I have to have an LLC first.
Which is terrible.
No, you don't. Yeah, it's horrifying. Yeah, they don't know what to name. They end up spending a month and a half on what to name their LLC instead of they could have had a deal and a profit by then. You'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some misconceptions that go along with this. I think the most popular ones being it's illegal. It's not illegal. You have to have a license. You don't have to have a license. You have to be good at math or have a specific formula that you're following. Nope, not true. It's much better to practice problem-solving principles and building great relationships. Far exceeds like any of the pre-mentioned like license,
Yeah.
math, formula, whatever. So let's talk about the proper way to do it. And if you're brand new listening to this or watching this, this will help you get moving. This will help you get your first opportunity. This will help you possibly get your first check, like all of it within real estate. And doing so with the least amount of capital possible and least amount of risk as possible, because that's like the whole focus. And you're not going to need math. I can actually promise you that you'll never even need to know the possible price of the house or the property. Yeah, I don't care if it's a commercial building. Yeah, it actually doesn't matter. How is that possible? How can you go essentially flip a house that's not yours without ever knowing the price of it?
And how the heck can that even be legal?
Yeah, and how can it be legal? Yeah, exactly. So really what we're going to be getting into here in just a second now is the principles to follow, the specific steps to follow, and why. So why you want to be doing it this way, because you may have heard information elsewhere. So let's say you're following a formula or a math equation or whatever, you'll probably close. What's a safe bet? You'll probably close 30% of your contracts.
Maybe. Yeah.
When I say contracts, it's a purchase agreement with a seller that you're trying to resell that contract to an end buyer for a profit. 30%, I bet it's 30 to 50%. 50% definitely high end without question, because you're just guessing at everything. Mm-hmm. So what we do takes all of the guesswork completely out of the business, and all you do is operate step by step. Once I've completed this, I move on to this. Once I've completed this, I move on to this, and I get paid. I can do one of two things. I can restart that process, or I can close in a specific way that this deal will pay me for 5, 6, 7 years, and I never own the house, or I can start the process over. It's really up to you at that point, which is really cool. So our process and how it's different is we do start with the buyer. We start with the title company. A lot of people will be like, okay, you got to go find a seller, you got to go find a problem, or you just got to go find somebody willing to sign a contract. Then you sell that contract and then buy it. You start marketing towards the buyer. You start marketing the house, which is really the gray area, right? Where people are talking about being illegal. If you have a house under contract and you market the house publicly and don't state that it's a contract, you are actually acting as an agent at that point. So you are acting illegally. So this even keeps you legal and you don't have any stress about that. So how do we start? We start with the title company. Mm-hmm. And the reason we start with the title company is because you have to have somebody to close the deals and the types of transactions that you're looking to close. So if you have somebody, like, what you really need to do is you need to make sure that you have a title company or attorney that has the ability to close an assignment of contract and or a double close. Mm-hmm. Those are the two most popular types that'll keep you legal and clean and above grade and all that.
So if you look at a timeline, that is the last step, is it closing?
Yes.
So we start with that so that we know what's going to be required of us, what's our role, what do we need, etc. So a lot of people start, at the beginning without ever figuring out the end, And then inevitably,
what they believe to be the beginning,
right. And
which
then
can be all over the place.
inevitably, they're not thinking about the steps that are moving through the progression. And then those inevitably go wrong. And the entire thing just goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, and when you start at the end, the perfect way that you just put that was, we know what's expected of us, and we know what's expected of them. All the expectations are on the table. How much guesswork is involved in any of that? Any of that? Zero. So let's add up the guesswork. So far, we've gone through the first step. We're at zero guesswork.
Good job.
Let's try and keep it at zero.
Okay.
Let's just say if we were doing it traditionally, or the other ways that it's taught, and the way that people commonly try to practice this up front, and then get frustrated and go, "Oh, it's fake," or if it's a scam, or it's unethical, or whatever. The first thing they do is they're already out looking for. The first thing they do is they look for a house. They don't even look for people. They look for property, which is also a mistake. They look for a property. So what are they doing now? They're guessing at who's going to buy it. They're guessing at value, and they're guessing at who's going to close it. So they're already at 3 guesses. And we're at 0 right now, so let's keep the scoreboard alive.
Yep.
Like,
So working backwards, we know who's going to close it.
Mm-hmm.
We know how. We have proper expectations. Go back one.
yeah,
Who's going to buy it?
yeah, exactly.
Who's going to buy it?
Who's going to buy it? So our next step after the title company is we build buyer network and relationships. And the best part about this is, I'm just going to use you as a buyer. This is how our relationship started. You really started as a buyer.
Oh yeah.
So let's just run through a specific example, or not even a role play, but just an example.
I'm ready.
So I already have my title company in place. I know that I can close a double close or an assignment with so-and-so title company in my area. Great, perfect. Now I run into Jordan. I'm looking for buyers now because what do I want? I want 0 guesswork. So I'm going to you and I'm going, oh, you're involved in real estate. You're interested in being in real estate. Yes, I am. I am involved in real estate, you state. And what am I asking? I'm going into, well, what do you like to buy?
Multifamily.
Okay, so you like multifamily. What does multifamily mean to you? Is that like 2, 3 units? Is that like 5 units is up? Is that commercial, residential? What does that look like?
4 and up.
So you like 4 and up.
4plex and up.
4plex and up. Great. Okay. So what area do you like to buy it in?
44718 only.
Okay, so like specific zip code. Nice. No guessing. Perfect. And when you're looking at a property, like what's really important for you? Is it the style of the property? Does it have just have a specific rent rate or return, or what? If you look at a 4 unit, what makes you go, I want that one?
So specifically right neighborhood, which is 44718.
Okay.
And I'm looking for properties that are value add. So either I can increase the rent or I can increase the value of the property by fixing it up a little bit.
Okay, so the property needs to either look in disarray or like the rental rates are low. So what is a low rental rate to you? Like what?
$500-600.
Okay, so and it should normally be at like 700 or 800.
Yep.
And how many beds and baths and everything do these units
We
have?
normally do 2-1.
2 bed, 1 bath.
Yep. We don't do anything that's a studio or a 1 bed, 1 bath.
Okay, so this is a 4 unit that has 8 bedrooms essentially, because they each need to be two bed, 1 bath. And then you want the rents to either be at $500 or $600 or already at that 800-900 range, but the property needs some work. So that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
What do you normally pay? Like, what would be a great deal for you for a 4 unit that looks like that in that area?
Between 150 and 200,000.
So between 150 and 200.
Yeah.
So what if it was like 220?
Maybe if it was the right property, sure.
Feels right. What makes it the right property? What does that mean?
If that one was like a 3-bed, 2-bath, each unit, like
okay.
if it was like a little bit bigger, had a bigger yard, nicer neighborhood, maybe. Yeah, we'd consider it. We'd look at it for sure.
Okay, I got you. What I assume you have others in that area since you really like that area.
Mm-hmm.
What's your last 4 or 5 deals look like?
Good.
Good. they look good. So they look similar to those properties.
Yep.
Okay, so just let me run through a quick scenario. So you want a 4 unit, a minimum 2 bed, 1 bath. You want to be in the 150 to 200 range, and you want it to be in good shape, but like you want an opportunity to fix it and raise the value of it. That's really the value at a discount piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rents need to be at 800-900. But if they're at 500 or 600, that's a real opportunity there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll be in touch with you first the next time I come across something like that.
Awesome.
So literally that scenario right there, I want you to know, I know exactly what Jordan wants to buy. There is zero guessing to this. I'm not trying to figure out ARV. I'm not trying to figure out rent rate. I'm not trying to figure out anything other than what the property is already doing. Like, I'm not guessing at any of this. So if I come across a property, first of all, think to yourself, well, where are you going to find that property? Clearly in 44718. That's the zip code he wants to go. So that's where I'm going. So now I've just narrowed down it went from the world to a specific zip code. So now I'm already super targeted. So now I can go into that area and I can start looking for things that are at least 4 units that have possible value add. Maybe they look distressed, or they're a little bit older, or rental rates are $600-700 instead of $800-900. I can start looking at every 4 unit and up in that area. And the moment that I come across something that fits your criteria, I'm walking through that property. I already know who's going to buy it. I already know what price I need to be at. I can cut myself my own check.
Yeah.
Simplicity. No, let's do a quick scoreboard. I'm talking to you. I already know. So we already know the title company that can close the type of deals that we need to close. So our scoreboard, our guesswork scoreboard is 0. And now I've talked to a buyer. Now I have a buyer relationship that's trusted. That also, I asked you the golden question, which is, what does your last 4 or 5 deals look like? Now that I know what your last 4 to 5 deals look like, I know that you're a performing buyer. You are real. And now I have 0 guesswork and understanding and knowing what it is that you're going to buy. So now we move to the next step, which will be locate that property for you and keep simplicity.
One more thing to that little role play there, which would be, when I come across the fourplex in 44718 that I think would be a good fit for you, do I have permission to kind of run it by you? I want to make sure that there's nothing that I'm missing. Would that be appropriate?
I absolutely love that. That is such a good approach, because it just goes back to, now you can have a conversation with them and get the offer before I even have to talk to the seller about like a specific price or anything.
Yeah.
Now I can even send you pictures and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And would this fit your criteria? And you go, yes, I would need that at 175. Great. So we'll come back to that in just a second. So we started with the title company. We now have a buyer relationship. Notice that I didn't say we have 13,000 buyer relationships and a giant list that I email and send all this information to constantly and just hope that somebody buys it. No, I have a buyer relationship, which is far different from just an email, right? So you know who I am. I know who you are. You even know that I'm going out to work for you right now, essentially. I'm running acquisitions for you.
Yeah.
So at this point, we move on to locating value at a discount, which is talking with potential sellers, and people have problems that are large enough that the numbers go away. So at this point, title company, buyer's good, now on to seller. Mm-hmm. So at this point, we are in 44718 in this specific scenario. Let's just keep running this scenario. So I'm in 44718. I'm going to all the 4 units. So I can look on the county site. There's a ton of different software that you can use. You can go driving.
You can look at property management websites.
Absolutely. It's a great way to go about it. I think one of my favorite things is you used to do driving for dollars on Google Maps.
Yeah.
So or Google Earth.
Yep. That's the Street View.
Yeah, the Street View. So you would just go up and down areas in the Street View. Hey, there's a 4 unit. What's the address? Grab the address and locate the contact information to call the owner or the potential seller. Then you call them. Yeah, it's great. Send them a mailer or whatever you want to do, however you want to get a hold of them. So at this point now, we are talking to a potential seller for a 4 unit in this scenario. So I'm walking the property with them. I'm having conversations with them, and they're letting me know like, hey, the rent roll is this. So let's say I see the rent roll and it says each unit's at $700. So I already know, again, 0 guessing. According to you, and you're a legitimate buyer, that's low. Okay, so at this point, we're walking through the 4 unit. The sellers let me know, like, okay, here's the rent roll. The rent roll states they're all at $700. They're all 2 bed, 1 bath. I know that that's low because you've already explained that to me. I know you're a legitimate buyer. You're buying in the area. I know that this is a possible opportunity. So at this point, I'm grabbing pictures. I'm grabbing the information, any information that I possibly can that'll help in this scenario. Again, 0 guessing. I can literally call you on the spot. I can walk out of the property and call you and go, hey, I got this property. It's in your zip code. It's you don't even need to tell them the address at this point. If you're trusted, you can tell them the address. That's here nor there to me. Like, I'm not super stickler on that. Some people are like, don't do it unless you have a contract. I get it. If you trust the person, it's different.
Yeah.
But anyways, to that note, I'm contacting you. I'm just asking you, hey, where would you need to be on something like this? Here's some pictures of it. What do you think? And then you let me know 175. At this point, what am I doing? I'm going back to that seller, super confident. Like, nobody's more confident on the planet than me at that point, because I know I know that I have a deal. I know that I'm set.
You didn't run a formula. You didn't look at the cost of the roof and should it be metal or shingle. Like, you didn't look at like what's granite going for right now. You didn't have to do any formula other than your formula was ask the question, which in this case was a phone call to the buyer. Hey man, are you still looking?
Yeah.
You know, if I could come up with something right now, I mean, like, are you guys ready to go? Yeah. Funny enough, I'm actually at a 4-unit right now, 2-bed, 1-bath, 44718. Rents are a little bit low, and there's, you know, some value add. So the only formula that you even attempted to make was typing in my phone number on the phone and saying, "Hey man, are you still interested?"
Yeah. What an amazing opportunity. Like, you now have the opportunity to cut yourself a check. So you tell me 175 in this scenario after all those great questions. Again, it's guesswork scoreboard 0.
Mm-hmm. So what do you tell the seller?
You've told me absolutely everything that I need to be able to make a great offer to the seller. So let's just say you're at 175 in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to the seller. I'm going to go, look, we're able to pay 150. Does that work for you? And they go, yeah, you're nay.
No, I'm the seller, man.
You're going
150.
Oh, you're the seller now.
This is worth. I mean, I couldn't do it for 150. No way.
Yeah. So in this scenario, like, we're gonna get into negotiation training too.
No, you're gonna cut yourself your own check here. So yeah. I say no to 150. You know that the buyer is at 175, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 150, no.
Yeah. So 150 is no. Okay. Where do you believe that you need to be to make this work for you?
At 160. I mean, can you go as is?
So 160 as is. So you can go one of two routes here. One, you can just go yes, because you have a $15,000 check now. So it's probably worth doing that in a lot of scenarios, especially if you're brand new. But let's just say, like, you're going to try to squeeze more out of it, or you're trying to open it up a little bit. You can let them know, like, look, I spoke with my partner. I think we could make 160 work, but if we had to, could you do 155? I just want it to be good for both parties. And they say yes or no. But either way, you're really cutting your own check at this point. So you're deciding if the 15 is good enough. Let's say it is in this scenario. Like, I can honestly say, because I gave myself enough room and I already know what the buyer is willing to pay. So let's say I didn't know what Jordan was willing to pay, like that 175. I never contacted him. I never had a relationship with him prior. And I'm going, first of all, I'm completely guessing what the value of the property is. I might say 200. I might think 200 is a great deal. And then I'm going to other people going, isn't this a great deal? And then they go, no, it's a terrible deal. I need to be at 150. And now you're stuck. Now you're playing the game of like renegotiating with the seller, later on. And like, you don't want to have to play that game. So I already know you're at 175. You become the seller in this scenario and you go, I can't do 150. The absolute lowest I can do is 160. At that point, I'm probably shaking your hand. I'm going, okay, 160, that's fine. I'm going to do one of three things with the property just to be fully open with you. And they go, no, I don't care what you do with the property. That's what they're going to say. And you're going to go, no, I want to be open with you. I'm going to do one of three things. I'm going to close on the property myself, fix it up, and sell it for a profit as a fix and flip. Number two is I'm going to close on it myself. I'm going to hold it as a rental as you have, and I'm going to make money that way. Or third and foremost, I am going to allow a partner to step into my shoes at closing, but no matter what, you're going to get the number that's promised on this contract. And they go, okay, that's great, as long as I get my number. So at this point, they've now verbally accepted, hey, this could be assigned, this could be double closed. Like, no matter what, like, their big problem is being solved. They like, in this scenario, that they're getting the 160. They're very happy about that. That's what you want to be focused on, is their result in that scenario. So in that specific example, I know that you're at 175. They say, I say I ask for 150, or I offer 150. They say the best I can do is 160. We shake hands. I now have a $15,000 check that's going to be cut to me because of the difference between the two. How much guessing did I do? Everybody all at once. 0. Hey, I didn't check an ARV, an after repair value. I didn't guess on a rate of return that somebody needed. I didn't guess on a rehab, as you mentioned. No renovations. No, hey, what's the
no cap rate? Like nothing. Nothing.
Cap. Yeah, we don't even need to talk about cap rate.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not needed in this scenario. If more people just focus on solving a problem for a seller and a buyer at the same time, that's why I call it an art. You wouldn't have to be doing all this guessing and being caught up and overcomplicated. And so now we've run through the entire scenario. We started at the end, which is title company. Well, let's run through the scenario full. Let's go ahead. So we started at the end, title company, buyer to seller. Let's go ahead and map it out completely. At the very end, closing day. Okay, if you're assigning, you don't even have to go to the closing. You just get wired or send a check. That's great. If you're double closing, you got to go close, on the buy piece and then the sell piece, A to B to B to C. We're not going to get into the details of those specifics right now. But at the end of the day, my whole point is that you have now created money out of thin air. Okay. You never had to guess it, absolutely anything. And at that closing, you have the option. Do I want to get paid once, or do I want to get paid for 5-6 years on this deal? And you work that out with the buyer. We can go into that later, but
right
on another episode.
One thing I want to throw in here, because a lot of people that we talk to wouldn't the buyer care, or wouldn't the seller care that you're making 15 grand?
Mm-hmm.
So in that scenario, the buyer doesn't care because he's getting it for what he wanted.
Exactly.
Right? So it's not like he really wanted 150 and you're coming back and saying, hey, it's going to be 175. That wasn't the scenario.
Correct.
Buyer said, I would be thrilled at 175.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really wanted to, you could just to clarify, hey, I'm going to try to make some money on this as well. Like I'm assuming you understand that because we're both in business. And the buyer's going to say, no, dude, absolutely. I want you to be successful.
Exactly.
Okay. Will the seller care? Well, no. Are they getting what they want? Which is, in this case, they said that, no, I can't do 150. I'd be happy at 160. So do they care? No. And you clarified, hey, there's one of 3 things that are going to happen. I'm going to buy it, fix it up, flip it. I'm going to buy it, keep it as a rental, or one of my partners is going to step in and close on this on my behalf.
Yep.
So nowhere in here is anybody getting anything other than what they wanted. You wanted 15K, buyer wanted 175, seller wanted 160.
Win, win, win.
This misconception of, if somebody finds out that I'm going to make a profit. Well, are you a nonprofit organization or are you a for-profit?
Yeah, exactly. You're creating a huge value in the marketplace.
Yeah.
You're providing a huge value to people, solving massive problems for people. You should be paid, and you should be paid extremely well because you're earning it.
For the buyer, he didn't have to go spend time talking to his real estate agent, going to the MLS. He didn't have to market for himself, so there's a value there.
Mm-hmm.
You even went and negotiated the deal for him.
You did everything for him.
Didn't have to do anything.
All they got to do is close and then perform as they wish after they hold on to something. In this scenario, you.
And for the seller, they didn't have to list it, didn't have to give up a commission, didn't have to have
open houses and
100 people walking through their property disturbing the tenants.
Yep.
Huge, a nightmare.
Huge convenience here.
So you are providing a service and you are providing a value, and you should feel darn good about that $15,000 check for the service that you provided for multiple people.
Yeah, without question. So with that being said, hey, I want to learn. Hey, I want to get better. I want to be able to do it just like that. Book a call with us. Have a conversation.
Book a call with us.
We would love to teach you how to do this because this is what we absolutely love to do. So we have things in place to be able to help people get great results, even if they're, starting from zero. Hey, I've never done a deal before. Great. We will be able to help get you to predictable and consistent income through wholesaling.
If you've done a deal and you're looking to get, let's say you're doing a deal a month and you want to get to 5 to 10, let's scale it.
Let's do it. Yep.
So there should be a link somewhere down here for a calendar if you want to jump on a call.
Yep, absolutely. Till the next episode. If you liked what you just heard, great. We would love to chat with you more and to see if you're a great fit for our community. You can do that by emailing us at admin@thekingdomrealestate.com, or you can check the description below to book a call with us. Have a day.